Well, I came on just for this moment to kind of give y'all probably what's going to be the beginning of another video. This one is going to have to be fairly short because there's probably going to be others to be recorded on that are going to be added on to this to make it a little longer and more worth the upload. But I do want to show you all a little bit of something about how the dye came out on the birds. I mean, whenever I kind of went to towel them off after taking them out of the dye, it kind of happened that the black paint kind of spread a little bit. And like we say, every mistake is a new opportunity. Been looking for a new opportunity to make out of that. But even the eyes, as you can see, it kind of smudged into them. I did kind of find a little solution for that, which I practiced on this other one. I used a little bit of this copper fabric paint to kind of paint in the sides of the eyes around the pupil so that the pupil could still look a little black and it could still kind of look the way it does here. But there's a little thing I'm going to try here where I'm going to also demonstrate on this other one how we do this, and then like out to the side of the pupil put one little dot here, and then kind of show how we're going to go to the other side here and put this other little dot in to make the cardinal have its little eye. And I say make it so it could just, and kind of, I'd say, scrape away that little bit there. And I say that there's little work we kind of have along the way. We got this much in, and we're going to kind of go along here, kind of put this little other bit in here and kind of make it so this eye can kind of, I'd say, like come out a little bit the same way. And then we see that this is how it's coming out now. And I will tell you all that at least this time there's been enough red in the dye and enough solution in the denatured alcohol to make it so that it only took these cardinals a couple of days to soak. I'd say tomorrow we'll probably get back to recording when it gets the moment that we can take the other ones out. Don't know how that's going to go just yet, because I get to where I get sometimes a little energetic in the mornings because it's before I go to work. And it was yesterday morning that the second pair went in, and tomorrow that they come out. So it might be a little work just to take them out and demonstrate what we're going to do, just to kind of towel them off. And more than that, would have to put on some latex gloves so that I don't go to work with that dye on my hands. That wouldn't be the best looking thing if you're like working in food, washing dishes, picking up trays, among the things I've been back to work doing lately. So we try to, keep things clean enough like they need to be. And so I just thank you all for coming on here this moment just to see what I do, and hope to come by with another little demonstration on the next video. Thanks again. Well, as for the last part of this video, I did a little thing this morning. Now it is currently early evening on the same day, and though I probably said it would be another 24 hours before I did this, I decided that, sometimes the time and the hours are just kind of generalized, and you know, you don't always have to do everything the exact same way every time. And I do believe these have probably been in here for, I'd say, probably 36 hours, maybe something like that. And I'd say in that case, they've had plenty of time to soak in all the dye. And this is the moment where I finally decide that I might as well just go ahead and take them on out, show little ways things have turned out. You see, this is a good piece of basswood I used that got a little dyed red, and I'm already thinking of ideas this can turn into, like a elf or a sleigh or something like that. All kinds of neat little things I can do with that. And I tell you, we kind of had a couple little pieces of walnut or guanacoste or something and this little piece of mimosa that got dyed red. Oh, all the little interesting things we can make with those. But I'd say we finally got to the point where we can finally take these out of the dye, let you kind of see a little bit more how they are turning out, to say the least, and wrap these up kind of like this. Make sure we don't get them on this dye on my new pair of jeans, because, you know, some of my pairs of jeans were just getting old and needed new pairs for work, so that we kind of have little neat sets of them. And I say that this little time in our life, we get a little work done to this day, and I say that there comes one little moment we can finally place the lid back on top of the little can of dye here and put the little piece of bur oak on top. I think if I remember correctly, I probably ordered that piece of bur oak from England. Can't remember. I know I purchased some piece of wood from there. Might have been that. But here, you see, these probably came out a little bit better because we just wrapped them rather than try to dry them off like this. But I think as for what we're seeing, we're probably caused the black to smudge out a little bit more on these, even a little bit more than they did on the other ones, just by me doing this little demonstration to them here. But my mama kind of looked at these and said she kind of thought it looked kind of like feathers, so we can kind of spread it out a little bit and try to make it look so it's a little bit thinner and make it look like it's a little bit more rustic, to say the least, because that's kind of how it, I'd say, has turned out since the time we sort of put the little extra paint on them. And probably for the future, we probably will start kind of taking these and wrapping them out instead of rubbing them with the towel like I did the last time and like I'm doing this time. And I'd say that there's probably some little stuff we can do, probably kind of dip it in the dye a little bit, rub it a little better so that we hardly really see where it's smudged around, and kind of blend it into the red to make it a little darker, make it so it looks a little bit more like feathers. That's kind of what my mama thought, was that it kind of looked like feathers when it came down to it, you know. And that's how we got little things to turn out for the best here. And see how we got little working time and all this work that goes in. Oh, we see how it's shinier and newer and going to be showing up with a little dark side now and then. I think we kind of got the spreading and the smudges a little bit worse on this couple of them than we did on the last ones, but we're going to spread that out a little bit, spread it out a little more so it kind of looks a little bit more rustic and dark, like it's feathers on the Cardinals' body rather than just black smudges of paint. And then we're going to kind of probably end up doing with these like we did with the last ones. I demonstrated in the last part of this video how I kind of use the copper paint to paint on the sides of the eyes around the pupil. We're probably going to do a little bit more to this to try to straighten this out a little bit, make it so it comes out a little nicer and darker, and I think there's probably a place or two we might need to sand here because it got a little spot of black on its tail. Not so sure about that. Could have been a burn mark or anything, but we're kind of working our way about this, trying to make it so it's going to be smooth as it can be for the very, very long run, and try to kind of make it out so it's going to be kind of a bright little soul of a day, and how we're going to work our way into it. Got little places to rub in just to kind of get the little black out of the red, and kind of makes you think how there was that old country song that went rub it in, and before I even heard that one, I had already heard a certain parody on it for a potpourri plug-in that was on TV when I was a kid, and the little commercial that had that version of the song on it went plug it in, plug it in. So I say we work our way about this, try to get this so that it's getting smoother in ways, and I'd say we're probably coming down to having a little rustic cardinal here. Good idea to kind of rub off the beak as well. Maybe the black can kind of blend in with the orange a little bit, make it so the beak is a little bit smoother, and finally just work our way about this, just putting little time and working energy into our pieces, and come up with the way that we see how this is making its own little way to us. I think that too much of the paint is coming off, probably from slipping through the dye, and I think we're going to go back and probably take care of that again as soon as we can. But I'd say it's always good for every piece to come out unique in its own way. There's nothing wrong with that, and I'd say with all we got here, you know, it's just how little rustic things are coming their way and making them so we can see a little brighter tomorrows in all the work we do. I'd say it's going to have a little feathery look here once we get finished. So little ways we do. They always say that second time is the charm, but you know, we're going to have to find ways to work about this a little more, try to keep ourselves safe about what we do, because you know, we're going to try to always do better the next time's around with all we got, with all we do, and all we make for days today for our projects. And finally, that's what I wanted to say for this video. I've probably got a couple more over there in the other corner. We might just go ahead and try to laminate the labels onto those. So I'm going to turn the video off just long enough to try to switch over to places, and then we're going to come back and hopefully say that this shall be the end of the series. Well, I'd say that before I turned on this part of the video, I went ahead and started doing this, putting these little labels on the tails of these Cardinals. It's kind of what we did when we made these the last time. I just didn't have it on video or anything, but I'd say that we're working our way along on this, trying to make it all as good as we can. I will kind of let you all know I didn't think about this, but it's very likely when I go to laminating these with the super glue that the dye is probably going to smudge out of the wood onto the glue and come out on the tag. So if it does, that's no big deal, because there's been times when I've put labels on things and laminated them before placing them in the yellow dye, and it showed just fine. But I'd say with this one, at least, it hasn't already done that. You can kind of see how it's working its way along here, and I think I hear my little niece up there saying Uncle Jonathan. She probably hears my voice down here while I'm recording this. And I say that this little time in our life, to try to put the little label on, because I've demonstrated in enough videos how I put this label on enough things using the glue and the paper towel and the smearing work and all that stuff. So that's how we kind of got it here. And you probably see that maybe a little pinkness came out on the tag. It's kind of hard to see on the video, even though I can probably kind of see it with my own eyes in person, and try to put the little line into it, make it so it's going to be proof of the oil, because there's going to come a time when we're going to need to spray these with the oil as well, and that is one little single step of its own itself. And then we kind of got the little place done here. We're going to put a little glue on this side here, try to make it so it'll just come out a little bit more. And I do believe that, with these, it's better to, rather than using the linseed oil, it's better to soak them in the mixture of lemon oil and olive oil, or else have that little spray bottle of the mixture of lemon and olive oil that I use to spray on things sometimes. So that's how that is going to go, just to make its work come about what we do, and see how we're going to work about this to make it so it's going to seem like a little masterpiece of its own self. And I think some of the pink has kind of gone away since I started using another part of the towel here. So we can kind of smear it along just to make it so it's going to be a little thing for us to see here when it all comes down to what it's going to be, what it needs to be, and how we see how a little shininess can kind of do a little work in it, make it so it brights its way and brightens our days, and the little time of night when it all shows out for the better. I'd say these are going to be good for Christmas time, because that's a part of the time of year when people really want Cardinals, and how it's going to show for the better once we get it all done. And think for this moment, if I find my little spray bottle over there, we might even just take a little moment to kind of demonstrate how we're going to spray on these. I mean, maybe make the video a little longer, because I just became aware of one more step I need to take, and maybe even show. So give this little glue on here a moment to dry, and maybe we'll go back and I'd say maybe spray them out of that spray bottle with a little lemon olive oil mixture. Now I come to show you all here just a little more work as to how this gets done. You see the Cardinals are right there. Finally did get the glue to dry out on the tails, so this is the moment where we apply the spray and I'll show you how it's done. And you can see how one cardinal is standing a little bit better and from a different angle than the other, which all depends on how you carve out the underside and the wings. But we're going to go ahead and get started here and give you all this little demonstration. We spray them just like this. Things like this are among the things we used to spray with liquid gold furniture spray. It's not like the liquid gold macaroni and cheese stuff you know about, but I will say that the first place I was introduced to that stuff was whenever I kind of was over there in a certain place a certain art gallery, art depository where I had my stuff out, and a guy who owned it showed me a little bit more how to do that kind of thing. So we kind of worked on a little ways about that, and he also showed me how you kind of apply 2 coats in a day and then kind of wipe it off and apply the next coat the next day. As far as I'm concerned, sometimes I would either use that, or since you can no longer get liquid gold furniture spray, use the mixture of lemon and olive oil that I put together into this chemical spray bottle and use it to kind of spray little wood carvings like these. And I usually just kind of let it sit overnight without toweling it off, just to kind of give it some time to soak in, and might even just apply the next coat the next day. It's pretty much, for me, has worked that way, so that's kind of what I wanted to demonstrate here. There probably will come the time when you kind of have to flip them over or sideways a little bit and get along the backs of them as well. So we kind of got a little work to do in that little place and finally get to where we see a little ways that it's going to come out and do for the better, and then we get to see how they will stand straight up like that and get the work put in. And so much for what we do. I say that this little video has been a blessing to work on and a blessing to make, and that's where I will show you all what we've just demonstrated here, and do think I will end the video right here, and this is where I will end the series.